It's the night of December the 24th, 1914, on the Western Front. The industrial might of the new 20th century has been focused into a war that has been going on for 5 months. Everyone thought it would be over by Christmas, but sadly such hopes have now died alongside the young men in the clinging mud and cold of the trenches. On the run-up to Christmas, Pope Benidict XV begged the warring governments to call a truce and asked that the guns may fall silent, at least upon the night the angels sang. But it was no use. In the trenches, sometimes just 30 meters apart, the men of both sides often shout insults to each other above the sounds of battle. On Christmas Eve, a cry comes over from the German side in broken English. Tomorrow, you no shoot. We no shoot. The British and French are incredulous. Then along the trenches, there's a movement. But instead of seeing the sight of men going over the top, this time, pushed up above the top of the trenches, Christmas trees start to appear along the German lines, lit up by flickering candles. Is it a ruse? Could it be real? Could the regular soldiers on the front lines make a peace at Christmas when the church could not? On the wind, drifting across no man's land, there's a sound of hope and cheer as Christmas carols are sung. The gentle murmur becomes stronger and is picked up by more and more of the soldiers. As Christmas Eve becomes Christmas Day, the British and French join in too. As the morning draws, there's silence. In a farmhouse a short distance away from the front line is 18-year-old Scotsman Alfred Anderson. He vividly recalled that Christmas Day and said, "I remember the silence, the eerie sound of silence. Only the guards were on duty. We all went outside the farm buildings and just stood listening. And of course, thinking of people back home. All I'd heard for 2 months in the trenches was the hissing, cracking and whining of bullets in flight, machine gun fire and distant German voices. But there was a dead silence that morning, right across the land as far as you could see. We shouted, 'Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!' Even though nobody felt merry.
Silence. Oh, I remember the silence on a cold winter day. After many months on the battlefield, and we were used to the violence, then all the cannons went silent, and the snow fell. Voices sang to me from no man's land. We are all, we are all, we are all, we are all friends. And today we're all brothers, tonight we're all friends. Our moment of peace in a war that never ends. Today we're all brothers, we drink and unite. Now Christmas has arrived and the snow turns the ground white. Hear carols from the trenches, we sing a holy night. Our guns lay to rest on snowflakes. Our Christmas in the trenches, our Christmas on the front, far from home. Madness, how I remember the sadness. We were hiding our tears in a foreign land where we faced our fears. We were soldiers, carried the war on our shoulders for our nations. Is that why we bear?
There were many matches along the lines that day, some with proper footballs, some with bully beef cans, some were disorganized scrambles for the ball. Robert Graves reported that in his match, the Germans won 3-2. The Argyll and Southern Highlanders reported their match ended 4-1 to Scotland. An estimated 100,000 men took part in the Christmas truce. As the men moved back to their trenches, Captain Charles Stockwell took it upon himself to fire 3 shots skyward. He raised a flag upon which was written, "Merry Christmas." His German opposite raised a flag that read, "Thank you." The 2 men then stood on the ramparts and saluted each other. Alfred Anderson, the young Scotsman, survived the war and lived to the age of 109. He said of the end of the truce, "The silence ended in the early afternoon. It was a short peace in a terrible war." But one of the most remarkable quotes comes from a young soldier who, despite being away from his family for the first time, said of the events on that day, "I wouldn't have missed it for the most gorgeous Christmas dinner in England." A Merry Christmas from everyone at Yarn Hub, and the final words go to the members of Sabaton.